Yeah, so talk about this interesting circle, right? Because like when I poll the audience, I do this all the time at live events. I'm like, hey, if we have this wheel of life, like scale of 1 to 7, 1 is you're failing, it's miserable, you're embarrassed to admit it, and 7 is like you're in this total state of flow. And I have people rate, their finances and their personal relationships and their charitable giving and their spirituality. The number one correlation between I'm crushing it in business and I've got the energy to do all this stuff is always physical health. Like if somebody's at a 7 in business, I can almost guarantee you they're at a 5, 6, or 7 on physical health. Yep. They're getting their workouts. So there's this weird circle where it's like, well, I've got the physical health, so I'm doing the business, but clearly I'm only focused on my physical health because my mindset is open enough to like focus on my physical self, which means that my business is going well. It's like, it's this really great self-fulfilling kind of prophecy or circle. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people are looking for, hey, what's the technique? What's the Instagram hack? What's the $99 funnel that's going to make my business succeed? And it's like, well, if you get your mind and your body right, the business will probably take care of itself.
Correct, because you're taking care of yourself first and foremost instead of putting the business before yourself. You can't, it goes back to the age-old adage, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help someone on an airplane unless you put the life mask on first. Right. So you have to take care of yourself, because if not, your things are going to start falling apart, right? And on a chemical and physiological level, your gut is affected by what you eat, which affects your neurotransmitters, which affects your hormones, right, which is going to affect your ability to focus in business. If your body is not moving, you're going to start aching, you're going to start hurting, which is going to affect your mood and your focus. If you don't have any sort of self-worth, if you don't believe in yourself, that's going to affect your energy in showing up and constantly have you second guessing what steps next to make, even if you're some sort of Fortune 500 CEO. So it all goes back to you, as selfish as that sounds, so you can actually show up for others and in business, because then you can show them by action, by intention, that this is the way. This is how we are able to reach our fullest potential. So it all starts within, all of it.
It's funny you mentioned that. I think I brought this up on a previous podcast. Usually when my wife and I travel with the kids, three seats to a row, my wife sits with the kids and then I sit in the row behind them, usually so I can listen to a podcast or something and she can take care of the kids. And then if they're getting out of line, I can reach over the seat and like slap them, and then they know like hand of God, aka dad, is coming down. They better behave. So we ended up on a flight where it was a short flight, and Gabriel was like, Dad, I really want to sit with you and talk to you. So Alina sat with Gabriel, Alina sat with Karina, and I sat with Gabriel. And I'd never experienced this before. When the airline stewardess walked up and down the aisle, they came to me and they're like, hey, in an event of emergency, put your mask on first and then your kids. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. And then she's like, no, you got to put your mask on first and then the kids. I'm like, yeah, no, I know, I've seen the movies. And she's like, okay, just so you know, like you put your mask on first and then and I'm like, what? I'm not stupid, lady. Like, leave me the fuck alone. Yeah. But what I realized, because I asked an airline employee that I know, I was like, hey, what was the story with this lady telling me like 4 times? Did I just have dummy written across my head? And they're like, no, they're like, in an event of emergency, of course you're always going to go to save your kid first. That's the exact opposite thing you should do. Like, if you can't save yourself and take care of yourself first, then how can you possibly, save your kid? And I'm like, man, what a euphemism for life, right? Like, if I'm not living a healthy life and doing jujitsu, what chance is there that my kids are going to stick with it, right? Or if I'm eating a package of Oreos every night, what are the chances my kids are going to have healthy eating habits when they get older? Like, that idea of like, put your own air mask on first and then the kids, that was just like, that was like an antidote for all of life. And I'm like, oh, for all of life,
it really is. And many times you'll see people who consistently still push I need to help others first. And just as a side note, those who do that, typically speaking, have zero self-worth, or they get their self-worth from the validation of others, in which case we have to address that. Otherwise, it's going to be cyclic behavior of, this pedantic back and forth. I need to fulfill this for others. So the question is, why don't you have self-worth? Why do you believe that you are at the bottom of that totem pole? And where did that come from? But if you don't take care of you, you also can't authentically lead, right? You can't lead a place that you've never been.
Right.
It's like you telling me, it's like you not having ever generated a lead in your life and you telling me who the fuck are you?
Right.
It's like when we go and we see the fat trainer at the gym and we're like,
yeah,
I don't want to train with him.
Dude, when I see a fat cop, I have no respect for him. I'm like, if I can outrun you, because I'm made for distance, not for speed. Like I can put on 100 pounds and walk for 100 miles.
And walk for 100 miles, yeah.
But I cannot run fast. So if there's a cop who I can outrun, I'm sorry, I just have zero respect for you as like a human being or as a law enforcement officer. And maybe that's totally unfair, but that's just how I feel. Like there should be no cop on planet Earth that I can outrun. Period.
Hand him my business card, sir. Whenever you're ready to talk.
Exactly. You need to talk to Miss Ziegler because she could really help with your self-worth issues.